Welcome to episode 38 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined every week, by Doug Griffith.
Hello, Tony.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
And I'll give my normal weather report. Much better. Well, it all depends. It was not a great day. It was a little windy, overcast, but little precipitation this morning. Precipitation this morning, not precipitation.
Yeah, I didn't get any participation from you this morning. I was locked in the house.
This afternoon's not too bad, but I think winter's on its way.
Yeah, it felt very fall-y this morning. I went out and I got wood, which is now, that's like my morning chore. I walk the dogs and I get wood for the day. And then the kids go home and they come home and they get wood for the evening. And
you have your dog bring it back, a mouthful at a time.
Next time I get a dog, I'll get like a Saint Bernard, and I'll have right. So actually, I'm breaking this to you on the podcast, as I forgot to tell you. But I finished cutting up your video today, your commercial. Commercial. It's on the internet. I'll show it to you after the stand up that we did at the Good Beer Festival, where you just said, hey, this is me. This is what I do.
Okay.
But I'll show it to you.
See.
Yeah, no, it'll be nice to see, and we can share it and things like that. I wanted to share it before I got here, but I was waiting for our new camera, and you might notice that we are even less attractive than we were last week.
We're sharper.
We're sharper. Our makeup woman didn't quit. I'm regretting not shaving. I didn't realize how not shaved I was. I mean, at least I shaved.
I didn't shave either.
Yeah, I know. But let's talk about it for a second, the Good Beer Festival, because that had rain there too, and I think overall a success. Yes.
Yes, I would say so. We did, I think, very well. We had some beers on tap and ciders, and Saturday, I think we went through 18 or 19 gallons of beer and cider.
Wow.
So for us, that's pretty good. We had four things on tap. 5, 10, 15, about 18 gallons. We took a little bit of 2 varieties home and then had 4 more for Sunday. Not as big a crowd on Sunday, even though Saturday was a crappy day, I think, because of all the rain. And it wasn't rainy rain, but it was enough to get you wet, especially in the morning if you didn't have, or early in the day.
Right, but that was cool. The upside of Saturday was how busy it was, given how miserable the weather was.
Yeah, I expected more there Sunday, but it just didn't happen. I mean, Sunday was a much better day weather-wise. But had probably 50%, if not less, of the people that were there Saturday. So I was really surprised.
Well, we'll see. I guess there are going to be. I guess, do you guys do like a postmortem, like what are we going to do different, or do you just wait?
Yeah, we're supposed to be meeting with Andy from Wacomico County and Daryl Mead, who is the T-shirt provider, has been the promoter for the T-shirts. We're supposed to meet with him someday next week and just go over our impressions and how we felt things went. But one thing to note, we had the Homebrew Contest on Saturday or Sunday morning. And on Saturday and Sunday, we've had discussions by the local breweries.
Right.
I think things went fairly well on all accounts. Obviously, Saturday we had a much bigger turnout for the discussions, but I think everybody seemed to felt it was a worthwhile endeavor. The topics were well received. I think they're fairly interesting. We left it up to the brewers to decide what they wanted to talk about. And had a nice assortment of discussions. I think that anybody, especially homebrewers, found it very worthwhile attending.
Yeah, no, and I got my first one up. It was Jerry from Third Wave.
Okay.
His came out well. Brian's didn't come out very well.
Well,
I tried to do his first. I can play it for you later. I think we're just gonna, leave that off. But Jerry's went okay. I believe Vince Wright's is gonna be pretty good. I've got a couple other ones. I think the second day I kind of found my feet. The first day I tried to use my computer to record, and it recorded it a little hot, and it was already a little hot. So it's a little buzzy, and I'll show you Brian's.
Yeah.
But on the second day, I literally just put my microphone up in front, and I just stood there with my hand in the air, and I held the microphone in front of the speaker, and that worked better. And you can see, if you guys tend to watch, if you'd like to watch, it's posted on the State of the Beer YouTube channel. And in Jerry's, you can see at minute 3 is when I figure out, hey, what would happen if I held it? And it's pretty good, and then it gets clearer.
Really good.
Yeah, it gets much clearer, and there's a lot less music. There was a lot of music. There was a lot of music noise, a lot of background noise. You can hear that actually on Doug's stand-up as well. And we can do. I think there'll be plenty of opportunity to make the kind of changes that'll prevent that from happening next year.
Okay.
But we'll see. I mean, we'll have better gear. We were already in a position to live stream, because in addition to making me look uglier, older, and less shaven than even I am, this camera has a zoom. So we should be able to set up someplace high and live stream this, which would be cool, even if nobody watched. Yeah. It'd be cool to just kind of establish that, hey, come out and do this event. And also, and all through the week, I'll be posting. I'll try to post a video or 2 every week of all. I mean, I have hours and hours of footage, and anything I can save from the brewer talks, I will save.
Okay.
So that's that.
But anyway, we had our homebrew contest, had the winners. We announced the winners at the end of the day, and for those who weren't there, we have sent the awards and ribbons out to them. So we have one tomorrow that we had the address wrong, and Josh has taken an order down to the Wallace Allen group. He's got the
right stuff.
Check for the person that we had the wrong address for.
That's cool. One of the things that Sean and I spoke about briefly last week, but I wanted to ask you about is, do you think that is it normal for, like, a lot of people didn't wait around for their prizes? Do people like mail in there, like the guy from Wallace Island, I guess?
But
that's a long way.
The ones that were there, we gave them the
right. Yeah.
But for those who weren't there, we had to mail to them.
Yeah. And that was another one that's I can actually show that to you. I can put it on the internet for you to see it anyway. That the presentation was okay. The audio was a little wonky, but I think I'll do a better job next year. Learn my lesson. Little things like that. Yeah. We'll get there. Better. Okay, so now we're going to get to a little bit of news, because there's some fun stuff in the news that I wanted to talk about. And the first thing is there's a kid a college kid. His name is Bobby Gattuso, and he has made essentially a beer tea bag. And so what he did was he has these sachets, I guess, for lack of a better term, and he fills them with hops and different flavors, I guess, right? Yeah. Coriander, spices, and things like that. And then the idea is that you pour the cheap beer over these sachets, and it tastes better.
So you're saying you put the sachet in and pour the nondescript beer over top of it to get a good beer.
To get a good beer. And I got to say, I'm a little skeptical, because, I mean, those are like, all right, so let's say Miller. Miller is just a lager. What kind of beer is Miller?
Lager.
And the BJCP. Oh, that's the other thing we want to talk about. The BJCP. So
light American lager.
Can you make a light American lager into a saison by just changing the flavors?
Well, that's what it's all based on flavor. So
right.
The light American lager has certain characteristics. It can't be too alcoholic. It can't be too hoppy. So yes, if you're basing it on what flavors and what color it's going to be, probably more on flavor than color. But if you get the flavor of the style of beer you're looking for, then for all intents and purposes, it's that style.
Yeah, I guess it's
just, I don't know how they're going to, I mean, if it's a tea bag, like you get tea, usually you need heat in order to extract those flavors, but maybe they've got it ground very, very fine that it will dissolve, and I have to try it to taste it.
Yeah, well, certainly it will be a cloudy beer. You're not going to get any points if you try to pass your Miller Lite off as an original beer. at the BJCP, you're not going to get any points for clarity on the issue. But it's a buck a piece is what it says here when they come out, and it's called Hop Theory. All of our stuff is on the show notes now. We're trying to do that. That's a new thing we're trying also.
So you can take a 30-pack of Bud Colors Lite that runs you $19 and make it into 6 packs that cost you $8 or $9.
Yeah, I'm real scared. I can't tell you.
$1 a bottle. So you're up in the price $30, but you're getting craft beer that probably costs you 40 or 50.
Yeah, but that's what it first. So for 24 on top of 20, that's $45.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know.
I would try it. I will absolutely try.
Maybe you have to buy it in bulk. 50 cents each then.
Well, there were 2 things I was thinking. For one thing, you could bring it to a wedding. Like when you go to a wedding or you go to a picnic and you know
they have a nondescript beer,
and they have a beer that's maybe not your favorite. You have a pocket full of these, and you just throw it. I can't imagine.
A reserve comment further unless I have some.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just I didn't write a blog about it, but I did write a short post about it, and I titled it from the Department of Things You Didn't Know You Needed and You Were Right, or something like that.
There's proofs in the pudding, but we're going to want the proofs in the beer for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. The proof of the beer is in the tasting. Yeah. You know, if I get my hands on some, I'll get my hands on some and we'll try it. I don't know if it's something that a person can get there.
It is patent pending.
Yeah. So I mean, good for him. He has at least backers, or put the money up himself, I guess, to do the. And while we're on that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the rules for the BJCP because, as I understand it, they change and they change every year. Like,
let's.
I'm sorry.
BJCP. Let's say what BJCP is to start with, so that those who are not in the know, BJCP is Beer Judge Certification Program, and it's a separate organization associated with American Home Brewers Association. Used to be part of it, but it became a separate entity. And they are in charge of providing judges to judge the Homebrew Contest. And they provide guidelines and testing for anybody who wants and doesn't have to be a home brewer, although most of the beer judges are home brewers because they got interested in home brewing and want to learn more about beer. So the BJCP has great descriptions and guidelines on beer styles. Insofar as they give a description, tell you how much approximate alcohol, what the original gravity, starting gravity, what the ending gravity should be, which tells you how much alcohol is in it, and the color, the SRM of the beer, and also the IBUs, the International Bittering Units, of how hoppy it should be.
Right.
So that's what the BJCP is and does.
And now, you didn't at the Homebrew Contest for the Good Beer Festival. Did you use those standards and not those judges, or
we did not use BJCP certified judges, although we did have some BJCP certified judges there. Those judges did the final. We did the first, second, third place in the 5 categories that we stated, and those 5 categories were loosely stated, such as it was a porter stout, a spiced beer, an IPA, and I can't remember those, but they were loosely, and we just said we want the best beers out of these 5 categories. Mm-hmm. So if you put your beer in the wrong category, you were judged incorrectly. So if you put it in as an IPA, you expected a beer to be somewhat light in color, hoppy.
Not a pumpkin stout.
Right, not a pumpkin stout. So you were judged on it as an IPA. You got to put it in the right category, or
Right.
otherwise, the judges are going to say this is not what I expected.
Right.
You got to have something to judge on.
Mm-hmm.
But going to the BJCP judges, after all the 5 categories had their first, second, third place, all the first place winners were retasted again by the BJCP judges and given best of show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all the local brewers,
right,
plus the judges
pick their favorites,
and
then they pick the best.
Right. And it was, the categories were split up in 5 separate teams.
Mm-hmm.
The largest team being the IPAs and the stouts. The other had approximately 3 on a team, but it was, you judge certain categories and then the judges pick the best out of those 5 categories.
Now, one of the things that, but there are like 1,000 categories, right? There are more than 5.
There's more than 5. Yes, there are categories and subcategories. I think there's 30 some different distinct categories, mm-hmm. 38 or 40. And of those, there are subcategories.
Wow, that's a lot. And to be a judge, you have to be able to judge in any of them, or do you specialize in it?
Generally, you can well, you have to know what all the beers are, but generally, you're asked what kind of beer do you like to judge,
right? And
so that you get something that you like, rather than have you sit there and drink something that you don't like. Right.
Now,
but if there's not enough, somebody has to.
Somebody's got to drink.
Right.
Somebody's got to test the pumpkin spice beers.
Right.
But for instance, at the Great American Beer Festival, when they give out like silver medals or whatever to the professionals, are these the same judges or are these different judges?
I'm not sure about that. I assumed it would be somebody who's a certified judge, and that's, I think they
there's
still
not
do that.
There's not like a competing organization.
I don't believe so. They're all part of the AHA and the Brewers Association, I believe.
Right. I thought they were all the same, but I wasn't sure, so I figured
they're all associated. They're all, I think, managed in the same area. Mm-hmm. Of they're at Colorado in
Fort Collins.
Boulder, which is not far.
Right. Yeah. Their
Brewers Association is there, and I believe the AHA and the BJCP. Somebody has to manage and they have a board of directors. And
now, do you know how a style of beer gets to be a subcategory? Because they can't just say, "Well, I've made this and now it's a subcategory." Is it like the Olympics where they test it out for a couple of?
I think so. I'm really not sure, but I think you have to have enough different people making that same beer, and
right.
I think generally it becomes commercially available.
That's a good way.
It's not just like
just me and my
somebody who makes 30 different beers.
Really kooky stuff that
right.
Nobody's going to make. There's no namaste category.
Right.
There's no ancient ale category.
Well, you can't say that, but there are some of these beers that have spices in it. There is a spice category, so that would fit into that category. It's got spice in it, just like a pumpkin beer generally has spice, so it's not in truly with the stout or porter.
Right, it would have to be.
It could go in there, but generally that would go into the spice category because it has spices in it.
Oh, that's cool.
But it could be judged in a porter or a stout if it was one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But you could say it was a pumpkin style with spices, and you may get away with it. Sometimes you don't get away with it because the judge says, "This is a spice beer."
Yeah.
And you're supposed to somewhat put your ingredients in. I mean, it's going to be malt and.
Right, but if it's got allspice in it,
right,
that's the spice. It's got spice right in the name. Just wanted to say hello to our viewers and let you know that if you do have any questions or want to participate in any way, you can ask questions over there to the left, and we will answer them as best we can. Last week we got trolled. I don't know if Sean was telling you, but we had a couple of trolls, just writing filthy things, and it was amusing. Speaking of. One of the things that they don't have in Boulder is a problem getting their hands on Count Chocula, which is not something that they can say.
Right up the road.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They have Count Chocula in Boulder, but not in Fort Collins, because this week Black Bottle Brewery bought all the Count Chocula in all of the grocery stores in town. And they bought pallets and pallets of it to make it into a beer. And they're calling it Cereally Count Chocula or Cereally Chocula Beer or something like that. I'm going to look it up right now for a second. And it's going to be part of their cereal series where they're going to do different beers for St. Patrick's Day. They're going to do Lucky Charms. Cerealiously Count Chocula.
That's a mouthful. How do you go to the bar and say, "Give me one of them"?
I don't know. I think this is one of those things where you just point and say, "Hey, what's new on tap?" I don't know if it'll be.
That would be give me a CCC.
Yeah, the triple C.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll have a triple C. So, besides the flavor, do you know what a cereal would do in a beer? Do you have any idea?
Well, there's. I'm not sure because of where they put it in and how the preservatives that are in the cereal. I mean, some of those cereals I know have that BHT, but that's a packaging thing somehow. It's attached to the inside of the plastic or whatever's packaged in. It's not actually in the cereal. But no, I don't know how that would work. For a brewery, they may be able to ferment the beer and then add it sometime toward the end of the fermentation process, where if it did have a preservative in it, it wouldn't matter. It just may get absorbed into it, and then they'd have to filter it out to make it somewhat clear, I would think. But
now, can the preservative hurt the yeast? Is that
that's the.
Oh, really?
And maybe there's not enough to worry about. And how much of the cereal do they put in to the beer? It may not be significant there. Or like I said, they may allow it to go through the fermentation. But I mean, it's like we use oats and rye, some whole, some flaked, which has been put through a roller mill to flatten it and heats it and they're called pre-gelatinized. It's pushed to cook because of the process. But those don't have any preservatives.
Mm-hmm.
So they work fine in a beer and don't affect fermentation at all.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see, and they'll must have to filter. Quick say hello to Alexandra. So hello, Alexandra. Thank you for joining us. So anyway, I think that you were saying that there's that's something that you have to know before you make 30,000 gallons of it.
Oh yeah, you do a 5-gallon homebrew batch. You test it out
and make sure that it's
or a lot of breweries will have, as does Dogfish, they have the Sapco systems that they can make 10 gallons of it or 15 if they want to really push it, but they make
and see how it
works. A keg and try it out and see how it works.
Well, I guess
test these things before you go big volume.
Well, I would love to find out how they did. So we'll be I guess checking back in on them as it comes out. I'm sure somebody in Fort Collins will write up about it, and we'll go from there. And then last but not least on our list of things to talk about today is craft soda. Pepsi announced recently this week. Pepsi announced this week that it'd be making craft soda. I guess we'll call it the shock top of the craft beer world. And the idea is that they want to take advantage of this idea that people are willing to spend more money on something with better ingredients. But my question to you is, I know that there are a lot of homebrewers who make soda, and is that something that you see?
It's relatively easy. We have the flavors called. It's from Rainbow Flavors, and they've got, I don't know, 12 or 15 different flavors, and you can have cola. They're all generic,
right?
Cola, orange. You can get root beer, birch beer, sarsaparilla, which are all types of root beers. Beer, vanilla,
cherry, and stuff like that.
Creams, yeah,
strawberry, I guess.
Yes. So almost any of the fruit flavors that you've seen somewhere as sodas or what Knee-High used to, I remember long ago. I don't know if Knee-High still makes stuff or not. They used to have the grape and the orange.
That's I'm not too old to remember having Knee-High sodas. I haven't seen them in 1,000 years. Yeah. But what I'm curious about is whether or not, like, do you just buy it and add it into club soda? Is there a process beyond that?
Well, you can actually get a carbonated, or for those home brewers who have a kegging system, you put your soda extract in, water, so much water, and so much sugar, because they're generally sweet, like most sodas are.
Right.
Or if you want, you can actually use if you're kegging, you can use an artificial sweetener. If you're bottling, you have to have some sugar in there because it actually goes through a bottle conditioning, just like for beer. Yeah, it produces such a small amount of alcohol, it's not worth. How much does 5 ounces of alcohol, sugar make?
Right, yeah.
When you're considering that most home brewers use 5 ounces to carbonate a beer versus probably 6 pounds of
to alcohol of beer.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, it does make alcohol. Is it much alcohol? No. But generally, for making it in bottle, you take it, bottle it, you just mix it all up, bottle it, let it sit out for about a week and a half, and then you should get it into the fridge. Otherwise, sometimes they can get overcarbonated if you use full sugar.
That's correct, and it explodes.
Yeah, it can explode. Yeah, you should use very strong bottles. Even the plastic soda bottles work great because they're very strong and generally don't blow up.
I wonder if that's going to be the case because now they're making the thinner ones with the Aquafina. The water bottles, I know I haven't purchased a soda in a million years, but I know the water bottles are paper thin now. I wonder if they would hold up.
Well, I don't know if you can use those, but the soda bottles, I mean, are designed,
like
the Coke,
the big ones.
Yeah. They take a tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah, and I guess that now that sometimes because they do special releases, although when they do the special releases with real sugar, they make them in glass. This looks like it's a glass.
Yeah, and they're using just regular sugar, cane sugar, instead of high fructose. So that's so much better anyway.
Right, and this is something I definitely would try. I'm not afraid to admit that I've been sucked in by the marketing, and I totally would try this just because it's fun.
The normal sugar stuff, I had some some Dr. Pepper from Texas. They still make it with the real sugar, right? Even though I guess it costs more because high fructose is less.
It's cheaper, but people like it
because it's provides the same amount of sweetener for less product, but it's supposedly horrible for you.
Right, but and I think that I think it's Mexico, which would make Texas make sense. They didn't like it. The people when they switched over, the people were like, "This is horrible. We won't drink it."
I had Dr. Pepper with the real stuff, real sugar, and it just tasted so much better.
That's good. I mean, like I said, I haven't had a soda in 1,000 years. Only because there's water, there's coffee, there's beer. What else do you need? Speaking of what else you might need, remember that you can ask us questions. If you want to see anybody on the show, let us know, and we will reach out to them, and we'll say that they were personally requested. We hope to have a guest next week. If not, certainly by the beginning of December, we'll have a guest. We've been promising this for a year. We've had about 4 guests this year, but we'll get there. It's our last little bit of chances. So that's where we stand for now, and that's all I have for this week. How about you? You good?
That's it. We got wine class tonight, and I'd have to look at the schedule, see what else is coming up. But
well, to check the schedule and check when the wine classes are, when the beer classes are, just go and visit extremebrewing.com, where you can get a link to this podcast if you want the audio version, and follow us on Twitter or any of the other social networks.
But if you go to extremebrewing.com, it's found under the heading of everything else.
Everything else.
Couldn't figure out where else to put it. So
excellent. And then until I'm going to try out a new tagline this week. Until next week, less stuff, but better stuff.
Especially beer, better beer.
Especially beer.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. Yes.